Yo, what's poppin', guys? Welcome to another video. This is the Millers React. My name is Jimmie and this is
Ashley.
And this is our YouTube channel. This is our YouTube channel where we talk all things relationships, and we mainly make reaction videos to other things about relationships. But you know, sometimes we just react to things just because. So today's not gonna be one of those videos. Today's gonna be just more of a casual conversation about everything. So we're finally gonna wrap up on Love is Blind, only because I think we're both kind of tired of talking about Love is Blind.
Right.
You know, it was cool for a little minute, but to get to every single episode, it's just kind of rough. Well, not rough, but it's an enjoyable show. I would recommend it to watch it. I wouldn't recommend it as a lifestyle or something to do. I wouldn't recommend doing that TV show at all. But yeah, you want to talk about like any key moments that you may have from Love is Blind?
I don't think I have any key moments other than what we've already talked about, but I would say I was shocked at the finale because one, I didn't know that people were coming to the wedding and making their decision there.
Yeah.
Like that kind of threw me. Like you could stand there and still reject them, but otherwise they wouldn't have had a show. So I guess I see why they did it, but I thought it was stupid. And I was surprised at who ended up married and who didn't. And then even watching like the finale, I was surprised at who stayed married. And
yeah,
who,
the reunion show.
And just, yeah, so I don't know, I think it was just a shock to me, and like I wouldn't put myself in that situation, because if you truly love someone and you guys are in this relationship that you've spent time growing, you wouldn't meet at the altar to be like, no. You know what I mean? I don't know. I thought that was pretty ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
But I get why they did it for the sake of TV.
Right, made really good TV. Like, made extremely good TV. But I think it was, what's the word I'm looking for? I think it was uncalled for. Yeah, I think it was kind of dumb. You know, you pull all of these people into this scenario, and when I say people, I'm not talking to the contestants on the show. I'm talking about the contestants' family, and they're all there and they're in this thing, and they're
already surprised that this is happening.
They're on this journey, like believing that you're going to be married to this person, and you just kind of force this person onto your family and this idea that you're going to be married to this person that you just met, and they're wrestling in themselves, going like, okay, I know this is crazy and this is TV, but they're like,
but they're so in love and they're gonna take care of each other. Oh, just kidding, no, they're not.
Exactly, like you, as a family member, you're fighting to be okay with your family member, someone you care about, possibly making a really bad decision. And so you're trying to make yourself okay with that, and then they get all the way up to the altar and you go through all this trouble of like trying to make yourself okay, and then it doesn't happen, or it does happen and then it falls away.
So I'm gonna just do spoiler alerts. So spoiler alert.
Yeah, we're wrapping up, so it doesn't matter.
So my whole thing
no
with
holds barred.
Giannina Milady and Damien, like,
I hope that was a stage name.
That's her name, I think. But anyway, so that whole thing, like, you could tell they didn't really have a healthy relationship anyway. And so I was glad when he was like, no, I can't marry you. And as embarrassing as that would be, like for her, she needed that. Like, I felt like she really needed that. And then if you watch the reunion, they're actually together. So, like, I feel like she probably had feelings for him, but it was just one of those things, like, you know, he needed to kind of assert himself, at least to the point where she wouldn't be dictating every move of their relationship. So, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I'm kind of glad Cameron and, what's her name?
I forgot her name too. Cameron and,
It's been a while since I watched it.
What is the girl's name? Oh man, I feel so bad.
I don't feel bad about it because we're not friends. It's not like we're like close or anything. But Cameron and his girl, I was kind of surprised
This is killing me.
That she went through with it, because she seemed really unsure there toward the end. And again, like I said, I didn't know it was an option to not follow through. But it was kind of fun to see all the like the makeovers that day of their weddings, but hearing the emotional roller coasters they were on, like that's, no one wants that for their wedding day. Like no one wants to sit there and wonder, like, I wonder if they're gonna go through with this today. But then like seeing all of them in their makeup and their dresses and their tuxes, and I liked all that. But I didn't like watching these families try, like you were saying, try to be there for the people they love, and then, you know, watch their hearts either get broken or watch them go through with it and be like, it's not, you know, there's both sides of that.
My favorite was actually one of the ones that didn't get married. It was how the man handled it. I can't remember the couple's names.
It was the really boring ones.
Yeah, we skip over them a lot because they were extremely boring, but the way he handled it was just like,
he was
wow.
Great, yeah.
Like, wow, like he was a stand-up guy.
Obviously, this is just it's a whirlwind for everyone. And again, don't want to dive too deep into it and delve because you take something that is so complex and it is authentic and it is real, but today is not our day. But I love each and every one of y'all, and it's something that I'll cherish and be grateful for forever. So.
He was like, guys, I know this is a crazy situation. I'm sorry about all of this. And he like really stepped up and he made the family okay. Like he was like, yo, it's weird. My feelings were real for her, and this is, you know, real life happening here. I'm sorry to bring you into it, and whatever he said, but it was like super comforting. That, and I would like,
and just the fact that he was able to do it that way, it was so much tact in class, like, and it was quick. But maybe he kind of prepared it because it was an option, like it was a possibility. I don't know.
Yeah.
We just didn't know it was a possibility to go all the way to the altar, start saying vows, and then not do it.
Right.
So.
And I think, not that I would ever be on the show, but if I had gotten to that point on the show and standing across from the altar from you, from anyone in the world, and I would say something like, I want to be with you, but not like this. And I was surprised that nobody had that line. Like, I want to do this, but not like this, not this quickly. Like, I'm saying no right now with the hopes that we can.
Yeah, but I still feel like that would not be a conversation to have at the altar. I still think that's stupid. Like,
I think it is too.
I would have, like, that should have been a conversation that happened before, so that they both maybe could have said, you know, that would have been a twist too. Like if they were both like, oh, we love each other, but we're not going to do it this way.
Yes,
so, I mean,
yes.
I don't know. Maybe
it was like
Love
in the
is
contract
Blind
or
too.
something.
Maybe think of that because we just gave you that. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it could have been some, you know, rules to the show that we don't know about, and that might have been one of them. Like you're not allowed to, you know. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I want to talk about Mark is Blind Part 3 at the reunion, because I feel like Mark was still trying to shoot his shot even at the reunion. Like he was like, you never made me that corned beef, like trying to like lob it out there to see what Mark, she would say. And
she
was
didn't
like,
love you before, she doesn't love you now. Like,
and she like very nicely told him like, I'm not gonna make you the corned beef, whatever it was, thing or whatever.
I still just feel like, so that was the other thing. Jessica came in and she pretended to be all civil, and not pretended, I don't know her heart and what her, you know, intentions were, but, and she apologized to, what was his name? It starts with a B, and I always want to call him like Barrett or whatever.
What, wasn't it Barrett? Or?
No, it's not Barrett. I can't remember. It has been so long.
It was Amber was his wife.
Yeah, Amber and whatever his name was. So anyway, Jessica apologized to Amber, and it was really interesting. Amber Barnett. And so Jessica apologized to Amber, and Amber was like, no, I don't accept your apology, basically, because she was talking about how it was wrong of her, and she knew that they were gonna get married and all this other stuff, but Amber didn't even know they were gonna get married. She just hoped. They gave this really long pause before Barnett gave his answer, and I don't know, but I feel like she was genuinely excited about marrying that man. Like she was so giddy.
Yeah. Maybe we'll edit this out, but I saw a meme that called her a hobosexual, but it's hilarious. Oh man, basically saying she was a mess and that like her marrying him was probably the best thing that could ever happen to her.
I don't know, but she seemed genuinely happy, and even just to see them a year later, like still thriving in marriage, that's great. Like, you know, a lot of the people who did the show were young, and so I mean, just anyway, like we're getting married older and older in life because of whatever reasons. So
that's actually something I looked up too, is like, and this is like getting into a whole other segment, but marriage is a dying trend. Like,
well, that's because more people are getting divorced than they ever have, and a lot of it's just because people make, I think, in relationship, they make divorce an option. If it's not working out, or if I don't like you, or if I get upset, or I don't, you know, we can't work this out because neither of us are willing to let our pride go, or whatever the case is, then divorce is always the option. Like, and I think that's what's contributing to so many failing marriages, is just...
I would also argue that the meaning of marriage has changed significantly from when it was, you know, a thing.
Covenant.
Yeah, a covenant, versus what it is today. Like, marriage does not mean what it used to mean, at least not in our generation.
And so many people are so focused on the wedding day that they lose sight of the marriage, and we can spend a whole other episode on that. But I mean, that's one thing I'm glad we never did. Like, we didn't spend our life supply of money ever on our wedding, because it was just like, this is just the day and we're preparing. But yeah, I think that's a whole nother conversation. But even just the emphasis that this show put on the wedding day, to me, like, and not so much on the marriage.
Yeah.
And like, even moving them in, like, that would have been a hard thing for me, because I would have never cohabitated before we got married, never. And so that would have been another thing, like, oh, you're required to live with these people after you leave this island for however long before your wedding. I mean, it might have been like 2 weeks, but still, like, I don't know how long it was, but like, that would have been a problem for me. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to I cannot remember this girl's name, and it's driving me nuts.
For who? Oh,
Cameron.
Yeah, I can't think of her name either.
Okay, so Cameron and Lauren, yeah, I don't know. I felt like she was one of the few people who considered long-term what things were gonna be like in their relationship. So...
yeah, and their relationship was so interesting to me because I felt like everything was genuine on Cameron's end, and he really did love her. I think he still loves her to this day, and she was just afraid of being loved in that way. At least that's my take on it. One of the other moments that I would like to talk about too is also the reunion. Again, I guess that's the one that's the freshest in my mind. But also Carlton kind of shooting his shot again. At least I took it as him shooting his shot again with Diamond.
He just apologized. But maybe because he did give his number or something like that. Like,
yeah, but there were some clips after that too that I saw on YouTube, and it was like he was definitely trying to shoot his shot a little bit. And Diamond wasn't having it. She was like, look, she's like, I accept your apology, but it's probably just not going to happen. And I respect her so much for that.
How about no? But good for her.
In this next clip, we're going to talk about maybe I watch Tiger King with Ashley because she loves it so much.
I don't love it. I just think it's worth talking about.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Okay, so Tiger King is like the ultimate trash. I watched it. He would not. Although I did catch him like glimpsing a couple times. So I watched it and he didn't, and it literally was trash. Like, I was doing things while I was watching, so I didn't have 100% focus on it. But then the memes and the things that I'm seeing around, like, as a result, are definitely belly laugh worthy. Like,
yeah, the memes,
ridiculous.
I haven't seen the show, but the memes make me want to watch the show just because they're so funny.
It is, it's funny. And so maybe we'll get a chance to watch Tiger King and talk about it.
Maybe.
And we'll see. But it's like, ultimately it'll just be like, there will be no depth to it because there's no depth to that show. Like, it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
So I was trying to like make myself okay with watching it to even be this much amount of interested in it. And I did see a little clip that talks about like the subculture of tiger collecting, which I didn't know was a thing in America.
Me neither.
Yeah, like apparently.
But it was only 3 people, I guess, and they all 3 are in jail or something like that. So
well, they should be if the statistics are correct. They said there are more tigers that are captive in America than there
free.
are free. And it's like, dude, that's messed up. Like, where's that okay yet? Where they do that at?
Well, apparently there, but I don't know. Like, that wasn't the part that really like got me. I think the part that got me was like how these people were living and just like no regard for anyone or anything else. And it was like people bought into it like a cult, and I couldn't believe it. But we could talk about that later if you watch it. Like,
I don't know,
guys. It's a whole thing and like a whole culture apparently, and like I don't know.
Listen, guys, if you want me to watch it, if you really want me to watch it, this video needs 100 thumbs up. That's the only way I'm gonna watch it. So like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever you gotta do. Maybe I'll watch it. Possibly. Even then, I'm not sure.
If I say he's gonna watch it, he's gonna watch it.
Gonna watch it.
Yes, he is. We're whispering like we can't hear each other.
I'm gonna watch it.
But if I say he's gonna watch it, he's gonna watch it.
I do all the editing on the videos. So I'm gonna put it. I'm not watching it right here.
That's true. I can't edit the videos. So I'm on my own there. I'm on my own.
All right, so this next segment we're gonna talk about the idea of a soulmate. This comes from a status that I saw, and people were commenting on a friend of mine's status. And my guy is a super solid guy, like straight up. Is not dissing him at all or anything like that. It's just talking about the idea of a soulmate, and I think, for the sake of this video in particular, we have to define what we mean by soulmate. So when I'm thinking of a soulmate, quote unquote, I'm thinking of the Americanized, romanticized version of a soulmate, where there's this one singular person that just exists somewhere out there in the world, and they're just waiting for you to meet them, and they're the one. And you're gonna meet this person, and destiny brings you together.
No. Don't speed past your own personalized echo that you just did yourself. I'm over it.
That's how the movie.
I'm so over
that's
it.
how
Okay,
the
but
movies are.
they don't echo it themselves. You edit the videos, right?
I'm gonna leave it in there. I'm just saying.
Gosh.
But anyway, and it's so ironic to me because after that status was posted, Sleepless in Seattle came on, and it's exactly what I was talking about. Like, this idea that there's just this perfect person out there for you who just does and meshes well with everything.
And the universe brings them to you.
Yeah, and the moon and the sky and everything's just right, and the room's the right temperature or whatever it is, and everything sparks, and there's fireworks shooting off when you first kiss and all this crazy stuff. And it's like, yo, it's nonsense. It's silliness. What's your take on the soulmate? How do you define it?
I don't have a definition because I don't think there's such a thing. Like, I've never given it thought.
Yeah.
I never felt like there was just one person in the whole world and I'm gonna go find that person or they're gonna come find me. I never thought that, even growing up. Like, I never had this mentality that, oh, I'll meet my soulmate, because I just always felt more so like the person that was meant for me, not saying soulmate, but the person that I'm supposed to be with is who I'll ultimately end up with. But there's a lot that goes into it. It's not like we just randomly bump into each other one day and there it is. Like, I think there's a lot that goes into that, like faith and like what I believe in, morals and relationship. Like, it's not just a simple like, oh, there's my soulmate. And I can't tell you how many people have told me, you know, like, oh, that's my husband. Oh, this, and that. And I'm like, okay, listen.
Whoa, man, I done had that
Linda.
a couple times. God told me that you was my no.
But did that work out though?
That was crazy.
And I'm not saying that can't happen or that God can't do that, because he can. But
it's like, what do you sound like?
I'm just saying I've never really seen that happen, like from someone who said it and then it didn't happen. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have this idea of a soulmate being a real thing, because I think any relationship takes work. I think any relationship takes commitment, and it's a choice, like, to love somebody and choose to be in a relationship. I mean, that's that with marriage too. Like, you can be married and you still have to choose to love. You still have to choose to pursue and be in a relationship.
Absolutely.
So Like, and I'm not saying there aren't, you know, I'm not saying you, I don't know. Like, I think it's possible to love more than one person in your lifetime and feel like this could have worked in a like a long lasting relationship in a marriage. I don't feel like that's not possible. Like, I think that is very possible. And I also think because people go through seasons and people change.
You're different.
And, you know, even if someone like they were married and then got divorced, like, and then people remarry, and that's life. That's what happens these days. Way more than it used to. But people change, and the things that you go through change you. And so I think it's very possible. But I don't think that there's any one singular person, you know, and oh, you got divorced, so that person wasn't your soulmate. No, because soulmates aren't real.
Right. Like that whole concept is just like it's false.
Yeah.
But I will let you guys in on a secret. Yo, she had a checklist when we were dating.
I'm not embarrassed. I'm not
she had a checklist.
Sure did.
I think I hit all of her checklists except for the being tall part. Like, that was the one.
There was more things you didn't hit on my checklist.
What was that?
You weren't taller than me.
That was the being tall thing.
Eyes was another one. So some of the things on my list were shallow. Some of them were not. So so what was it? A non-negotiables list. And so that's got a long story to it. But like, basically the campus ministry that I was involved in college and grad school, like, it was a thing that the girls in the ministry were doing. And I was like, well, this is stupid. And then I was like, well, maybe it's not super stupid, because, you know, it's important to remember in relationships, like, the things that you value outside of it. So like, it's so easy to get so wrapped up in somebody and you let your emotions just go crazy that you throw things out the window that were important to you for this person. You start making exceptions and excuses, and I know that thing happens. And so I made a list too. I was like, well, I'm just gonna, what are the things that I value? So like, I had some very like shallow surface things on my list. But I had some very not shallow surface things on my list too. And so, like, the ones that you did not meet were more shallow things. You were not older than me, clearly, and that was on my list. So I'm just saying, there's like three or four things that like you were not on the list. I'm just saying.
I didn't make the cut, guys. You heard it first here. I didn't make the cut. Here we are 7 years later with 2 kids, but I didn't make the cut. So,
nope.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting on you to get taller than me.
That's just not gonna happen.
Like, and I'm still waiting on you to get older than me.
Unless they come out with this new knee surgery that they was talking about in Mean Chicks, I'm looking for it. So
white chicks. It's white chicks.
Oh, white chicks. Yeah, that's right. Long story short, I talked about it. You guys pretty much know how I feel about it. I feel as if there's no soulmates. Like, you are who you are, and actually I think what I'm about to talk about in this next clip actually sums it up pretty well. And this is Will Smith quote that has it's got some weird stuff to it, but for the most part I think I agree with it. He says, in regards to Jada, he says, her happiness is not my responsibility. She should be happy, and I should be happy individually. Then we come together to share our happiness. Giving someone the responsibility to make you happy when you can't do it for yourself is selfish. Now, he may have went a little bit too far in saying it's selfish, but I think what I would say, instead of saying it's selfish, is saying that you put too much weight on one single person. Because if you can't make yourself happy, how can you possibly put all that weight on someone else? Like, especially when you don't know what makes you happy. So if you don't know what makes you happy, how can you put that responsibility on someone else? They will always fall short.
Even if you do know what makes you happy, though, like, it's not someone else's responsibility to keep you happy.
Exactly. It's a very tough thing, and then that person will always be weighted down with the responsibility of doing the same things to make you happy, and then when those things don't make you happy, doing the next thing that makes you happy.
And to some extent, I would assume that it wouldn't be as genuine either, because it would become exhausting.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. So I think I agree with that Will Smith quote. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think I agree.
Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't have put like selfish, but I get what he was getting at.
No, it is though.
She say it's selfish, so whatever. I guess I wouldn't say it's selfish, but anyway. So we gonna wrap this up in the next one, and I want to close on some marriage tips. I got one good piece of advice for the men who are out there, all you husbands. So something that I used to do that I haven't done in maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 months or something like that, maybe even longer. But set a reminder in your phone to surprise your wife at least once a month. That was something that I used to do. I'm probably try to get back to. Surprise your wife once a month, set a reminder. The reason why I say to put it in your phone is because, guys, we dumb. Like, we forget stuff all the time, and if you're not intentional with where you direct your passions and your mind and your heart, then you'll just, you'll forget. It'll fall by the wayside. So I would suggest that this is one super easy way for you to be intentional about your relationship with your wife. So, you got any tips?
I'll give one tip. So I guess my tip would be, like, ladies, let them, and it's hard even to say, dang, like, let them do things their way sometimes. Like, it doesn't always have, and this was a lesson I feel like I learned more so when we had our first baby. Like, just because it's not the way I would do something doesn't mean it's the wrong way. Is it maybe less efficient? Maybe. Is it maybe more time consuming? Maybe. But also, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, if it's still getting done, and it's not just you, like, this is just in general. I feel like this is just guys in general. I feel like a lot of guys take the long route to do everything, make things harder than necessary, but that we could have a whole conversation for days. So it's not just you, it's like all guys in the world. Except Jesus. But okay. Well, but I'm just saying. So, like, let them do the things. Let them do the things, and let them do them in their way. Because just because it's not your way doesn't mean it's wrong. You know what I mean? As long as it still gets done. Like, I had to, especially with kids, like I said, I had to remind myself, like, if I would be like, okay, we need to do this when we're changing the diaper every time, and if he wouldn't do it, it's like, okay, the diaper still got changed and she's still okay. Like, so just having to let go of that, it's a control factor, really. It really is. But that is absolutely my personality. So letting go of that control, but then also recognizing that, like, there's a lot to be learned in that about him, like the way he does things, but then also about yourself, because, like, I've learned some things watching him do things different than I do. Like, oh, okay, well, maybe that was actually better than the way that so I would just say, like, letting them, like, let your dude do things his way still, and not and letting go of some of that control if you're a control freak like me.
Yeah, so that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Maybe next time we'll talk about Tiger King. We'll see. Like, comment, share, subscribe.
Let's
all
get
that
to 100
stuff.
likes.